Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Your video is about to start. I wanted to remind you of our newer Wednesday, 1 p.m. live stream Q&A on all things Social Security. Visitors are welcome to post a question in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer it. It's on a first come, first serve basis, so please get there on time. Otherwise, if you care to be a member and get some different kinds of perks, feel free to click the join button below or just click it to learn about them. Anyway, I hope to see you Wednesday. If not, enjoy the video. Bye now. Morning. I'm responding here to somebody who was asking about DAC and a particular kind of situation, wanting to know if DAC might be available. I'm just going to read what I'm reading because otherwise I'll probably butcher it if I try to paraphrase. But I'm going to give my response so you can at least know what to look for if this probably affects other people. This is from Katski. Thank you, Katski. I appreciate the kind of question you ask. I'm a 51-year-old adult disabled dependent who has worked in the past, but only for periods of about 2 years or less. I will interject here and say 2 years is a sustained basis. Anything over 6 months would be 6 months or more would be sustained as a general rule, and that's assuming it was SGA. If it's not SGA, it doesn't matter how long it goes on. Okay. Continuing on, including working for my mother when she was self-employed, basically only earned enough to give it back to her for rent and care. I read about applying for her benefits through a DAC application, but because I collect my own SSDI benefits due to my spina bifida diagnosis at birth, Social Security has told me that I could apply due to my mother collecting her Social Security retirement since age 70. So far, so good. But another Social Security agent told me via a phone interview that I was only eligible for my own monthly benefit because I made attempts to work in the past. Okay. He wants to know if DAC would be something he could apply for. Now, it looks like he got two seemingly inconsistent answers, but not necessarily so. The attempts to work in the past are not what will be a bar to DAC. However, if you had SGA work in the past that was on a sustained basis, 6 months or more, and that's consecutive 6 months. So if you had 2 months here and 2 months the next year and 2 months the next year, or 2 months, 3 months off, 2 months, that's not consecutive, even if it adds up to 6 months in a year. Um, were those years that you worked, were they SGA? You have to look at your Social Security earnings statement that you can get from login.gov and look at those years and compare them to the chart that has all the chronological years and the SGA amounts for those years. Sometimes it's hard to determine. I mean, sometimes it takes a little finagling, particularly if you were self-employed. Like if your mom hired you and she gave you a 1099, or did she give you a W-2? Um, it can be a long, nitpicky process to figure it out, but we've done it before. It's just very labor intensive, but I'm sure you could do it. If you have sustained SGA work, that is a bar to DAC, and that does not get erased by becoming disabled later, because what it actually acts like is a improvement, so to speak, even though obviously you didn't improve. Um, so if you had SGA work, 6 months or more of that consecutively, um, during that time period when you were working, and that was going to be a bar, one thing you could look at was it subsidized work? Was it not really? Were you getting paid the value of your work, or were you getting paid something far more than the value of your work out of sympathy, empathy, a charitable giving by your mom or somebody else? If that can be proven, and that would take statements under oath, the SSA 795 statements, and the SSA may agree or not agree. If you had a job that was not subsidized, but you were able to work enough to make SGA for a sufficient amount of time for it to be sustained, you likely cut off your ability to get DAC. Um, it doesn't really matter that you say, My mother and I were not aware of DAC. I was encouraged to work to be productive. Yeah, and the question isn't whether someone is encouraged. We can't look back and say, I was encouraged. I should have been encouraged to be a sloth, No, you did great, Um, your own benefit under SSDI might be more than the DAC, If DAC is 50%, of what your mom gets or what her PIA is, which would probably be her, yeah, I'm trying to think, would it be her age 67 amount? Your own work record, particularly for still working part-time. Now, of course, you do say that um, uh, since 2019, your health began to deteriorate to the point that I'm unable to be significantly and gainfully employed. Mind you, even if you're not significantly employed, but you are employed, and you are adding your SS taxes through that part-time work to your earnings record, that is generally, usually going to help your benefit amount in the end. So just remember, if you're on SSDI, though, of course, you want to stay under that SGA amount, but you can still be adding so that as they recalculate your benefit out amount every year by adding in another year of work, particularly if a work year is better than a prior work year, that might be booted off and replaced by a better work year. If you did not, if it was work attempts and you never had sustained work that was above SGA, and I'm concerned here because I'm thinking maybe you did, and when the second Social Security agent told you during an interview that you were only eligible for your own SSD because you had made attempts to work in the past, it wasn't the attempts that blocked you. It was the fact that you were able to work on a sustained basis, making substantial income. Whether that's part-time or full-time, it doesn't really matter. Okay. It's based on the amount you made in that instance. So it's not so much that you attempted. A lot of people attempt and it's not sustained and it's not gainful, and DAC is available because they were not able to do what you were able to do. Um, and again, having your own SSD could be a greater blessing. DAC, of course, is way better than if you were relegated to SSI because you don't have as many of those um, tight rolls and noose around your neck type of thing. However, DAC does have some. For instance, you can't get married to somebody unless they are also on disability. If you're on your own, which you are free and over 21. You can do what you want. All right. As long as you, again, don't lose your SSDI due to working SGA. So you just got to look at your monetary numbers for the most part, because they're not going to say that you're medically improved in all likelihood, unless some great medical developments come along. And I'm not sure that's going to happen because it seems like the medical industry focuses on profiting from treatments versus uh, finding cures. But we'll see. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this one. So whether you are ineligible for DAC or not will really depend on what we were just talking about. Did you have sustained SGA? We do offer consults on those things. It usually doesn't take more than 1 hour if you wanted me to take a look at it. Otherwise, you could probably figure it out yourself by referencing the charts and figuring out if any of the years were over SGA. And then if you had to, sometimes we nitpick even more if you can go back in history and figure out what months you worked those. You might not have that information though. That can be a little hard if it's 20 years ago. I don't know how old you are, but if your mom is 70, I'm thinking you're, you know, well into adulthood. All right. Anyway, I hope that helps. That was a really good question though, because it's not the attempt that shoots people down, but it is the unawareness that if you're able to work SGA on a sustained basis, even if it's only for 1 year, uh, it can permanently remove the DAC possibilities. I kind of don't like the way that rule is. I think it needs to be tweaked, particularly for something like this, like spina bifida. I think DAC should be able to be had again. This is just my personal opinion if I was making the rules. And, I know every time we try to make a tweak like that and, give out more benefits, it takes more benefits out of the fund that might not have been anticipated by the tax rate we now apply to foreseen labor market participations and all that. And that's where the funds start getting weaker than they should, amongst other reasons, I'm sure, like perhaps not the best management. But I do think it would be, I think it's a fair thing that I wish they would consider more. And I'm sure there's some people really lobbying for that, that word DAC, if you can get a job, but if it's not based on medical improvement particularly, it's just based on stepping into a really unique job position that was offered to you, maybe even from a very empathetic person or company. When that is over, can the person go back to DAC? I would like to think so, but and it also seems to make a difference if you never collected DAC in the beginning. And I'm not refreshed on where that little tweak comes in, but um, in any event, there is a bar of sorts. So anyway, okay, that's it. I'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.